are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody and welcome to our content reuse webinar. My name is Lisa Petrangeli and with me is Amit Siddharth, and we will be presenting information to you today about working with reusable content in Microsoft Word and best practices and tools for doing so. So we appreciate you joining us today, and we will be able to answer any questions you have along the way. I'll mention this again, but please feel free to use the questions chat, and we can answer them along the way and at the end, and we'll make sure we provide everyone with information, questions and answers at the end as well. So let me just quickly introduce myself, and then I'll let Amit introduce himself. As I said, my name is Lisa Petrangeli. I'm Managing Partner and Director of Client Solutions at 36 Software. My experience long-term is with translation and localization, and through that time I worked a lot with technical writing teams. I'm very active with the STC in the States here, and I worked a lot with writing teams to help them figure out better ways of writing content, getting content reuse and content management. Often worked with them to go from unstructured to structured environments in XML and such. But sometimes those types of tools were not a good fit for teams. So when I first saw the product SmartDocs, which we'll also talk to you about today, which is my company's product, I realized that you can have all this great content reuse and content management in your Word environment as well. So those are some of the things we'll be talking about with you today, and I'll let Amit introduce himself.
Hello everyone, I am Amit Siddhartha, and I am the owner and consulting head at Metapercept Information Solutions and Consulting, and I have expertise in content reuse, information mapping, and structure authoring, and I'm business partner of 36 Software. And apart from data solutions, we also provide the content reuse solutions through the SmartDocs software. That is the product of 36 Software. And today we'll be presenting the webinar on content reuse, in which we'll be using the SmartDocs software. And moving to the next slide. So we would like to thank SDC India chapter for organizing this webinar, and this is a more of educational webinar as well as a product demo webinar, in which we'll be showcasing how to reuse the content using SmartDocs, even if we write any document in Microsoft Word. So I'll start this session with the introduction of what is content reuse. So the content reuse is an approach to document management in which written content is broken up into chunks or various modules that are reused at different locations across one document or maybe different document sets. And these content modules can be managed from one centralized database so that any updates or modifications which is made to a given module are reflected automatically in every location where that module appears. So eventually it is write your content once, then you get your content approved by reviewing, getting their content reviewed, and then you can use that content in multiple output formats or various project deliverables. And this diagram actually shows that we have various contents we have developed, and we are reusing that content in various type of outputs. So moving on to the next slide. So this question comes up: why do we reuse content? So as content reuse reduces documentation effort, and it reduces the ambiguity of the information, and also it reduces the revision effort along with the improvisation of the content synchronization, and then it reduces the translation cost. So overall, the picture is that if we reuse a content, then there is less maintenance cost attached to it, because once the content is written, then in that then that content is actually used across the other deliverables, and then that content is not written again and again by different authors. And also there is the consistency in the content, and these are all the benefits that help us create a very good document, and any document which is consistent across the entire organization, which is obviously a selling point for any product. So these are various pointers where we benefit, we get the benefit of reusing the content. And then the question comes up in our mind that what can we reuse? Obviously we know this concept that we can reuse the content, but what exactly is should be reused across all the contents that we have prepared for our document? So the first thing comes is the documents. So we can reuse the entire document, and then we have various sections in the document, and then we have paragraphs, sentences, words, graphics, charts, and then media files or callouts. So if you see this table, we can I have prepared this table in which we have various products in which the content is reused across the various deliverables. So in this, I have given an example that company logo can be reused across all the deliverables, then copyright information, and then we have the product overview, and prerequisites, safety summary, and setup procedures. So these are like basic examples of contents that I have showcased in this slide that we can use for the reuse purpose. And the types of content to reuse are linked content, and which is actually a reference content which is used at multiple locations in one or more document. So that can be a sentence, that can be a word or a graphic content that we have created in a document. And then we have a common or boilerplate content, which is usually notes, warning, caution messages, or such content which are actually restricted, and there are not much changes required quite often. And these contents must be available in a central repository system. And then through the single sourcing mechanism, it can be used across all the documents. So reuse across mixed content types. In that case, we have information which is used in various formats across different projects, departments, etc. And the best example for this would be any UI content across various models of a mobile brand, for example, or any database which has various error messages listed, which can be used in the API document as well as in the API help. So this is one of the very simple example of the reuse of the content. And then we have other type of content which is reuse across the department. So any sales team can, or sales or marketing team can reuse the content which has been developed by the technical team if they have to provide any technical specifications in their marketing documents. Or if they are writing a newsletter and they need to provide some solution, then they can refer to a troubleshooting guide which has been developed by the technical writers from the engineering team. And this is how all the contents can be used across various departments. So moving on to the next slide. So then the question comes that how can we successfully reuse content? So we have various methods to reuse the content. And this diagram actually explains that we have three things mainly. First is the plan and strategy. Then we have training and implementation. And then obviously the technology. So basically there are two types of content reuse method also. but the best is the systematic reuse process, or the systematic reuse method. So the first is opportunistic reuse, where a technical writer makes a conscious decision to reuse the content, and this method is quite flexible and allows you the user or the author to choose the content and determine the appropriate content for reuse. However, in a systematic reuse method, we have planned reuse where content is automatically inserted through some CMS software, or through some mechanism where the content is single sourced. And this method is very stable, and as it follows information modules or models or reuse maps. And uh, also a big use of technology is in this method, in the systematic reuse of content. So as we have mentioned that we have planning and strategy, then we have training and implementation, and then technology. So the core area of systematic content reuse method is the technology, where various types of technologies are nowadays available in the market for reusing the content. And we are not sure that which technology should we use. And if we talk about content reuse in general, then generally people think that, okay, we are talking about the structured documentation, which has single sourcing mechanism, or the process, or there are or the content has to be written in data XML. But overall, the entire content reuse is a concept which has to be leveraged by the technology. So it is the selection of the right technology which is very important or plays a vital role in reusing our content, irrespective to what authoring tool we are using. So moving on to the next slide, Lisa, we have like various examples of softwares available in the market. So as you can see, we have XMetal Author, then we have Author IT, then we have Adobe FrameMaker, Oxygen, Confluence, Madcap Flare, and Data Exchange. So if we see in this slide, we have almost all the softwares that are mainly data XML authoring software. And as all these softwares focuses more towards data methodology, however, the content reuse is a separate concept altogether. So if you see in this slide, we have the 36 software SmartDocs logo as well, which is where we are not using any data, but yes, we are certainly reusing the content using the SmartDoc application with the help of Microsoft Word. So the Microsoft Word is the general available authoring software which has been into market since I think we were kids, and we have been ignoring this fact that this is the best authoring tool which has has low cost in implementation, and which is used widely across all the industry or all the sectors, whether it is medical or any manufacturing unit or any automobile industry or anything, any industry we say. So 36 software has come up with a very good plugin, actually, SmartDocs, and it gets embedded in your Microsoft Word, and it helps you to reuse your entire Microsoft Word content effectively, and then you have all these facilities available like reviewing your content and using variables across the Microsoft Word. So now Lisa will take you through the demonstration of SmartDocs, and I'll pass on this presentation now to Lisa.
Thank you very much. So as Amit said, mapping out your content and figuring out and identifying where is reuse among your content. It's going to start with the content itself, the types of outputs that your content goes to, and hello? I'm just making sure people can hear me. Yes?
Yes, I can hear
you.
you.
Okay. you are mapping out not just those outputs, but as Amit said, across departments. And one of the things, the tools that we just showed you on that last screen, one of the things that's really important to consider is who needs to use the content and where does it need to go. And that's going to drive the types of technology choices that you make and how you implement a new tool. So let's think about what SmartDocs is and how it fits into that type of mapping and that type of environment. So what SmartDocs does is it truly brings content reuse and content management capabilities right into your Microsoft Word writing environment. And this is what makes it particularly unique and very accessible to any type of writer in your company, not just technical writers, but also anyone who is generating, using, approving, reviewing, etc. content within your organization. So with SmartDocs, you are able to create documentation more quickly out of existing approved content with document auto-assembly features, being able to search for content that is available to people. You can generate, of course, then higher quality documentation because everyone is using the same version of the truth, and you can track versioning, usage, etc. So you'll have consistent quality and you have better control over your content overall. And then you can keep documentation consistent and up to date over time. So if you have living documents that get updated over time, you can very, very easily make changes to those documents, know what changes have been made, and push those changes right back out to whoever needs them. You can easily, quickly publish and distribute your documents. So it allows you to really stay in the environment that you're familiar with working. And as I said, this list of types of writers within a company is really what makes SmartDocs unique. Because it lives in Word, everyone can use it. Let's face it, no policy and procedure writers or sales and marketing writers are anytime going to adopt working in Oxygen or working in Flare. That's just not how it's going to happen. People work in Word, they develop content in Word, they copy and paste stuff all the time. You know that they're doing it. Maybe if you're a technical writer and think about who writes to you and asks you for content. You know, it's those people who need to be part of the process. So you don't just want to limit your content reuse to one department or one type of writer. So during your demonstration today, I'm going to talk about, show you how SmartDocs deals with some of these things to kind of illustrate what content reuse is and should be for people, and to allow you to see how accessible content should be, how you can help writers know that there's existing content. So it's one thing to have it, it's another thing entirely to help people find it. And so some of the things that we work into our tools. So we'll start with reusable snippets and variables, which are identifying and working with reusable content, pulling them into new documents, updating them, etc. Then we'll talk about some of the more automation features, being able to create documents and keep them consistent over time. So with things like Smart Finders, which is one of our document automation features, usage history, being able to track, and then what our content map can provide. For those of you working with really large Word documents, you know that they can be difficult to navigate, especially if you have a lot of graphics and things in there that really slow down finding what you're looking for, moving through the document. So we've developed some ways to make that much more manageable. Then working with conditional text. Now conditional text is not inherent to Word, so SmartDocs is bringing conditional text to Word. We have some really wonderful, powerful things that you can do with conditional text. For example, being able to generate multiple variations of a document out of a single document, which is what I will use as a demonstration today, and then being able to publish as many versions as you need very quickly. And then I will talk to you about some of our more powerful document assembly features and what you can do. And this is something that you would really be able to use to pull in a sales team, anyone, or if you have documents that you're generating off of templates all the time, data sheets, spec sheets, quick refs guides, those sorts of things that you want to pull from the same content you're using in your manuals and other types of documentation, but you want it to be you want to be able to automatically generate it so you don't have to rewrite those things. So this is everything that we're going to talk about today. So now I'm going to switch over to a Word document here. And what you're looking at is a user guide. So this is a sample user guide. We have a made-up demo company called Intech Corporation, and our Intech Corporation makes media players. So these media players are much like an iPod sort of thing, and this media player comes in 3 different types, 3 different models, a mini, a classic, and a pro model. So out of this single user guide template, basically, I'm going to be able to generate user guides for each of my different products. And so as I go through this example, you'll see how all of this comes together. Just a quick tour of the user interface. You will see that when you install SmartDocs on your computer, you'll have a ribbon at the top with all of the SmartDocs commands, and you also have a task pane that you may toggle on and off as you like. So one of the things that's really important when you are selecting a tool is to make sure that people have very easy access to the content that they need. So as SmartDocs really unifies the collaboration of content reuse and content management. This is, again, something that makes it particularly unique. It's an authoring environment and your content management solution all in one place. So, other types of tools that you may be familiar with as authoring tools like FrameMaker and etc. Those are not content reuse or content management tools. They're part of a solution, overall solution. You would need a content management system as well, but you would need, again, different tools to accomplish the same thing. In this environment, you're combining content management, collaboration, and authoring all in one place. So it's just a different way of working. So I'm going to scroll down a bit here. Pardon the scrolling. And we're going to start with our reusable snippets. So just to illustrate a quick example first, I'm going to look at this section. I have a section heading and I don't have any content in here. So I'm going to do a quick search and against my snippet library and find something that might be appropriate here. So there are many ways to find your snippets, and your snippets are defined as your reusable chunks of content that you've identified as wanting to be able to reuse across documents, across people. You want to be able to track usage, you want to be able to track versioning, maybe control permissions, who can do what with which content, etc. So the first thing I'll do is go into my task pane and type in the word regulatory as a keyword for search. So you can see several snippet options have popped up in my list. Only one of them actually has the word regulatory in the name, and what we should learn from that is that you can assign any type of metadata information to your snippets so that you can find it and make it more accessible. So in this case, I'm pretty sure this is the one that I want. If I wasn't sure, I could view it first, but let's go ahead and insert it. So to insert, I can click on Insert, I can double click the name, or I can simply drag and drop it into my document. So once I've done that, what I can now see is that I have a snippet of content right in my document. Let me just refresh that. And it just pulled it right in, right out of my library of information, and now it's part of my document. Now this content down here, let's pull this up. Just wanted to show you this. This is a snippet that's already in my document. One thing I can learn about that is now I have a blue outline around it. I have a tab at the top telling me that I have, that's the name of my snippet. And if I look at this, my task pane over here is giving me a notification. SmartDocs always communicates with you what's going on in your document. It doesn't force you to change things, but it will always tell you this is what's needs to be updated, these are things that have changes, etc. So if I wanted to click on this notification, I get a whole list of options to work with. So what I can learn from this is that I have an updated version available, so I'm not using the latest version. If I look at my task pane, I can see I have version 1, and there's actually a version 3. So based on this information, I can decide what I'd like to do. I can issue a compare operation, which will show me a track change version of this version compared to the new version. I can update and merge it. Let's say I have made some changes and I want to merge those changes with someone else who is working on this snippet. I can also update to the latest version and just accept whatever changes in there. So I always have some options around that. Now I'd like to show you how to create a new snippet very quickly. So we're going to go through a wizard, and SmartDocs is very user-friendly. It always will walk you through some sort of wizard and make sure that you know what needs to happen in order for things to function. So I'm going to go ahead and advance through this wizard. The first thing I can do is select a repository. Now your SmartDocs libraries are stored in Microsoft SharePoint. Microsoft SharePoint is working behind the scenes to store all reusable content. And what we've done is we've surfaced many of the capabilities that SharePoint has in order to allow you to track usage, track versioning, etc. So there are many things that we've brought right into the SmartDocs environment so that you can better work with your content, and that's what makes it a management solution. So in this case, we're going to choose the repository in which we want to store our snippet. So we'll go ahead and choose technical publications. The next thing I need to do is tell SmartDocs what to name my snippet. So the only requirement is that I give it a unique name. All the other metadata on this screen, and this is what's really important, is completely configurable. I can have any number of topics or categories. I can call them whatever I like. I can have drop-down lists, pick lists, free text, whatever is relevant for me, whatever will help my people find the content that they need. So I'm going to type in a name for this. And I will select regulatory as the topic, and I don't need any new keywords right now. It's making sure I don't have a snippet with that name, and now it's going to create my snippet for me. So what's happening is SmartDocs is creating a copy of this content and storing it in my SharePoint library. And it is stored just as a Word document, so we don't use any sort of proprietary configuration for your formats. It's still Word content all the time. You can do whatever you need to do with it. Behind the scenes, if you need to do other things, your snippet content is still Word content. If 5 years from now you decide, oh, we want to change and do something different, then it's, like I said, it still maintains its Word application, or its native Word format. So now we have a new snippet. You may have noticed that there are some placeholders in here. This is, I'm going to mention that you can have reuse on even a Word level. And one of the things that is important during when you're trying to figure out how to reuse your content and what you'd like to get out of content reuse for your company, it's important to think of the things that will allow your content to be even more reusable. One of those things is having a capability like these reusable variables. These act as placeholders for discrete bits of information that need to take on some sort of specific context depending on the way it's being used. So in this case, we have some product names. As I mentioned, this is a user guide for 3 different products. So let's go ahead and assign some values to these product name variables. So I'm going to start with putting in the name Intune Classic. And you'll see that everywhere that variable appears throughout my entire document, even in headers and footers, has now been updated with that value. I'm going to go into my task pane and show you this list of variables. So I just typed in Intune Classic inline. I could also have edited it here. So I also have this product name full. So I have a full version of this name as well. So I'm going to go into this edit mode and show you that you can also set a pick list so that you can really control how people choose some of the variable values. You want to make sure that people are maintaining branding, spacing, that sort of thing. So that's a significant part of content reuse. Really is about consistency and clarity. And having these types of tools in your solution ensure that you don't have incorrect spellings and you're not doing finding and replace all the time and that sort of stuff. So we're going to provide some of our writers with a pick list here. So I'm going to insert that. Oh my goodness. Oh, I apologize for that. Word has given me a little trouble this morning, and I was hoping it would allow me to continue. So let's see if it will come back to us here. As you all know, Word can be a little quirky, but here we are. We're back in business. Okay. So I apologize for that. Let's go back into our edit screen and choose our variable value. And there we go. So again, everywhere that this has appeared in my document is now updated. Now the beauty of having variables stored in your centralized location is that now I can update them across documents. Let's say I have many, many documents as part of my document set for a product, and we change the product name, or we realize, you know what, we want to brand this a little bit differently. Well, I can select any number of documents I want and push that change through all of them automatically. So you really want to be able to create a connection with your documentation and with the information that's going into them, and that's what a content reuse solution will do for you. Again, I know I'm demonstrating one product for you here, but really keep in mind that you're going to want to choose the product that's best for you, and I'm trying to show you some of the criteria by which you need to judge which tools you select. Okay, so now I want to go into a template now. Now this template it's the same user guide, but right now it's just a shell. There's nothing real. There's no content in here really. And if we look at our task pane, we see we have these other variables. These are all locked down values because this is part of our company. This is our company information. That's not going to change. No matter who uses that variable, it's going to be the same. If we move our office, if we change our information somehow, I update that in one place, and everyone gets that updated information right away. So we can see we have a little notification that there's some synchronization that has to happen. So let's do that. Now everything is up to date. Great. And let's go ahead and populate these variables here. And we'll talk about a new product. We'll say this is a new user guide for a smartphone product. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I'll actually go ahead and give this value and this variable a name as well. Okay. Now let's go down to that same section we were looking at before. I'm going to show you a variety of other ways to find content. And again, my point here is content reuse needs to be easy or people won't do it. So if you have content that's available, it's been approved, you want everyone to use that content, well, people better know that it's there and know how to find it and be able to get it at it easily. So this is another way that we allow you to find your content. This is a browse window, and what you're seeing here are all of my repositories and the metadata that makes up the snippet that's part of the snippets, and now it's put into a folder structure. So if we look at this regulatory folder again, remember we wanted this regulatory compliance statement, and here it is. So now I can just insert it into my document from here. Okay, there are lots of other things I can do from this window. I won't go through everything in detail. I can see lots of properties about my content, version history, usage history, branched relationships if I've got that. I can edit metadata here if I like. There are all sorts of things I can do. So I can manage my content entirely in my Word environment. I can also edit the snippet outside of context of a document and check it out so other people know that it's being edited and can't use it or edit it themselves while I have it, and I can delete. So as a content manager, if I have permission to do this, I can do all of that right here. Again, choosing a solution, make sure that it fits the management style that you want to have for your team. Another way to find your snippets is with what we call smart finders. Smart finders are pre-filtered lists of snippets, and this is a direct link to them. So what I've done is, let's say I'm the template designer, I've inserted a smart finder into my template so that when my writer gets to this section, he or she knows, okay, I'm going to choose from this list. So I open this list and I see this is the one we just created, right? So let's go ahead and insert that. Now if you'll remember, it had some variable placeholders in there waiting for values. So when I insert that into my document, those variable values are going to immediately take on the values that I assigned when I first opened this document. So you don't have to think about that sort of stuff. It will just automatically know this is what I'm supposed to be using, and it'll adopt that information. So I can continue on. Let's go ahead and do this one. This is just a different way of being able to select. So I can use Control and Shift, select a whole bunch of staff profiles to insert. Tell SmartDocs, in fact, what order I want them to be inserted. And now I've populated a large portion of my document very, very quickly. So again, you want your document assembly out of your content management system to be really efficient and quick and automated and predictable. You want to be able to know that you're using the right content and that it's easy to get at. Now I'm going to go back to our original document and talk about our conditional text. So for many of you who are Word users, you may have wanted to find ways to use conditional text in Word. And this, again, is a reuse capability because it allows you to consolidate documents into one, generate multiple outputs, and really efficiently recognize when you have content reuse. One example that I use a lot, I just did a presentation at the STC conference summit here in the United States, and I did a presentation that was called Building a Business Case, how to build a business case. And the point of that was to be able to take information that you learn and talk about that to your company so that you can influence changes and suggest new tools, suggest new methods, maybe talk about new hiring or changing resourcing or whatever. Just from a high level concept about how do you influence change and how do you propose a new tool or something along those lines. And one of the things that I use as an example is a tech writing team that I worked with who did just that, and I worked with them to help them migrate to a different environment and adopt some new tools and really change the construct. And one of the things that they recognized was that they had documents that should have been 80% the same. And instead, people were working on them independently. So one person was working on product A, one person was working on product B, one person was working on product C, when in reality, those documents should have all been worked on together in some capacity because they should have been 80% alike. The products were that similar. So when you think about how you yourself are working and how your documents go together, you may say, well, this content isn't the same as this, but should it be? And that's the big question. Should it be the same? And if the answer is yes, then you want to be able to consolidate as much of that effort as possible. So one of those things that allows you to do that is using conditional text capabilities, because now where I recognize, okay, this user guide for these 3 different products should be almost identical except for the things that are very specific to each product, different features, different graphics, etc. So it's really important to consider maybe what you're specifically working on, you're not identifying a whole lot of reuse from one document to another or over time, but look at everyone else, what everyone else is doing, and figure out, should it be the same? Should this content be used across? Should it be part of a whole? And that will really help you decide, do we need this type of solution, and if so, what does it need to provide us? So in this example here, with conditional text, what conditional text allows you to do is identify content that is contextually appropriate in specific outputs. So in this case, as I mentioned, we have 3 different products. So I have 3 conditional tags. I have some customers who have up to 50 conditional tags that are for specific things. And they use them throughout their entire documents. So in this case, I have some content that's highlighted here, and if I click on this, you'll see that this is conditionalized for the Pro model. The Pro model supports web browsing. The Classic supports only video and audio, and the Mini supports audio only. So everything that's in the Mini is also in the Pro plus more, and that's how we've conditionalized this specific content. This pink color is a default color when you have multiple conditions applied. So you can use and or logic. You can really make conditional text very powerful for you to generate different versions. So now I can very easily show and hide what I want. If I want just the Classic, for example, now I have just the items that have been conditionalized for the Classic. If I scroll down, you can see I can conditionalize graphics, table rows, really anything I can select in Word can be conditionalized or part of a condition. Same thing with snippets. A snippet can be pretty much anything you can select in Word, can be a snippet or part of a snippet. You can nest snippets, you can nest conditions. It's a very, very flexible tool. So when you're doing this and you say, okay, I want to now, we've made some changes to this model, and I want to make sure that all of my conditions are correct. One of the things that you can do is use our content map. Let me just close this. So you want to make sure that whatever tool you choose, again, is easy to work with and navigable and really improves the use of the tools you already have. So this content map tells me all sorts of stuff. One of the things it tells me is every time I have something conditioned for that classic. So let's say I wanted to review all of that. I can navigate, go one to the other, make sure, yep, this still reads properly or this is still correct. I can set filters to show me just the conditional text. I can filter out other specific things. I also can get an overview of all the snippets in my document. Now, if I look at the snippets in my document, I see that 3 of them are all good and 2 of them need to be updated somehow. So a lot of information is communicated to me. It's very easy for me to go in and make decisions and make changes and update as I like. Now, when I'm done and I want to be able to publish these documents, I say, okay, all my changes are made. And this is another really important thing to consider when you're selecting a tool. What are my publishing options and where do I need this content to go? So in this case, I can say, okay, I am ready to publish these documents. So how do I generate different versions? I have to either manually have to change each of my variable values to the right version and then show and hide the conditions that I want. In SmartDocs, what we've done is provided you with document snapshots. Document snapshots allow you to define the end states of all of your outputs. So in this case, I have defined the end states of all 3 of my models. This is my show all. This is the document I work in. So I don't publish that one, but I work in it a lot, so I want to be able to restore it. So if let's say I want to restore the Pro. Okay, so I can click Restore, and what it's doing is it knows which variable values to assign. So it knew to do the Pro, and it knew that I want to show the Pro conditions. So you can set up your different end states, and it's very easy to toggle them on and off. So this is my mini. I don't have any highlighting for that because all the features that are in here as baseline are appropriate for the mini, but I do have my mini graphic down here. So it's very easy to go back and forth and get a preview of what your document will look like. And again, you want to be able to figure out how will you work with your published outputs. How will you know what you're trying to go from your authoring environment through to your content management and then out the other side in your outputs. So when you're considering tools, again, think about how you want to be able to work and what you want to be able to do. So let's now look, if we want to publish this document, we have some publishing options. So we're going to go and save it, to save, okay, and we're going to start this wizard. So now I can opt to publish the current document in its current state or publish snapshots, meaning I can publish all 6 of those snapshots. I'm sorry, all 3 of those snapshots. I don't need this show all, I just need those 3, okay. And now I have an option to publish to Word or PDF. In SmartDocs, inherently you can publish to both of those. We also have integrated with a product called WebWorks ePublisher, so you might be familiar with that. That product allows you to go right from this interface and publish to online help, mobile devices, all sorts of different outputs. So just because if you are Word and you feel stuck in Word, don't, because you can go right from your Word content to a variety of other outputs. And if that's something you're interested in, definitely speak with Amit about it, and he can talk to you more about how all these tools work really, really well together. And what you want to do is, it's really important to be able to optimize the tools you have. If you have Word, if you're working with SharePoint, you may or may not use SharePoint for project management or document management or any of those things right now. But just having SharePoint in-house, there are so many great things that it can do. And you can take such advantage of those and really optimize a lot of wonderful efficiencies with SharePoint, which is why we pulled that into our development when we did it. So again, when you're choosing tools, make sure that you're choosing things that will really suit how you want to work and the tools that you already have to minimize your investment, minimize your training. You want people to be able to just install and start working. And it's really important to be comfortable, to have your users be comfortable with your environment. That is what's going to make it successful. That's what's going to make content reuse successful over time. That's what's going to make your documents better over time, and you'll really, really benefit from having that wonderful collaborative environment that people can use. Okay, so I do have a question that I'd like to address because I kind of was just touching on that a little bit. There's someone just asked, is the metadata and file permissions managed in the SharePoint system in the background? Yes, it is. So when you're setting up that SharePoint configuration, you have lots of options. You can manage permissions. You can manage version history and how that's tracked. You can manage an approval process. I'm sorry, someone just went off mute and we're hearing some beeps. You can set up an approval process where, so for example, if I have permission, let's say I have permission to use content, but I don't have permission to save it back to the repository, then I can, then what I can do is I can save a change back to the repository, but until it goes through its approval phases, no one else can access it. So in fact, SmartDocs is smart enough to recognize, okay, I've made a change to the snippet. It automatically sends an alert to whoever the approver is. The approver, once he approves the content, it's updated to a major version update, and now everyone who has permission can access it. We also, in the SmartDocs environment, we have 2 different editions. So we have a professional edition for the people who really work with the content, who develop new content and need to be able to edit it and that sort of thing. And then we have an express edition who would be more for content consumers. I just need to pull content out. I didn't show you some of our document automation tools, but if that's something that interests you, we can certainly set something up and I can do that allow you to generate very, very quickly out of existing content an entire a document that's fully formatted and put together. You can have it be 50% complete, 100% complete, whatever you want, and it will really, really effectively allow people like sales proposal writers, people generating quick ref guides or data sheets, maybe even admin people who need to get a document started. It will let you pull that all in together. So you can very, very quickly assemble your documents off existing content. Someone else just asked about the demonstration integrating with ePublisher. I'd be happy to do that. I can't do that. We don't have time for that today on this demonstration, but definitely let's set that up, and I'll be happy to show you that integration. And in fact, I'll be offering, actually, now that I think about it, we actually have a webinar coming up with them in a couple of days. So if you're interested in that, you're welcome to join in on that, and I can send you that information. So yes, to answer the SharePoint question, just to go back to that really quickly, yes, we pull that right in, and we've pulled a lot of the SharePoint, we've surfaced a lot of the SharePoint features right into the SmartDocs environment. So again, your writers honestly don't really know or care that SharePoint's even back there doing anything. But it's, once set up, it's fully integrated, and it's a really smooth, easy transition, and it's a very nice way to work. I'm going to hand this back to Amit because I think he would like to round this up. If you have other questions, we're happy to answer them as well. I'm looking through some of the questions that have been typed in. One question, someone asked, are snippets Word docs? Yes, so snippets are stored as individual Word documents in your SharePoint library. They are stored that way because, again, we don't do any sort of proprietary formatting. I'll give you an example too. So let's say you have, let's say you're a software company and you have a lot of screen captures that are part of your documentation. You want to make sure that you can very easily swap out old screen captures for new ones. And I'm sure if you're working in any sort of environment where you have screen captures as part of your documentation, you know that when the engineering team says to you, okay, you have to replace these screens because we've changed the software, or maybe you have localized screens that you have to work with, you want to make sure that it's easy to know where that screen capture has been used in your documentation and can easily identify and change it. So I have several customers who have that situation and have actually purchased SmartDocs for that exact task. So now, by loading in all of their screen captures as snippets, those snippets are stored in their native format. So that snippet is now whatever that graphic was, if it's a JPEG or whatever it is stored that way. We don't change the native format. They're inserted into their Word documents. They use them. And now when I get a new screen capture and I have to replace that snippet, I can tell everywhere that that snippet has been used. In fact, let me just show you something really quickly. So I mentioned this status before. So let's look at this manage snippets status information. If I ever want to see, these are all, I only have a few snippets in this document. So these are all the snippets I have in this document right now. So I can see where they are, what page they're on, what line they're on. I can also generate an export out of this to even show to reviewers and say, okay, these are the ones that have changed. These are the snippets. This is the content I need you to review. These others you've already reviewed. So those are great. You don't have to touch them, and it can really help streamline your review process. And in doing so, you can really help that review team, even if they are not running SmartDocs on their computers. You can still send them your SmartDocs document. They can work in that document. When it comes back to you and you look at this list again, it will tell you, here are some things that have changes in them. Here is what's maybe changed since you last opened this document in the repository. So it gives you so much information. So now, when you have, this is telling you, okay, this is the information about this particular document. Now let's look at this for a second. I wanted to show you this usage history. Sorry about the scrolling here. Let's go back into our this snippet here. Okay, and in our snippet properties, what we're going to look at is information about what's gone on with this particular snippet. So one thing I can learn is the version history. So I can see here are the different versions. I can compare them. Let's say I want to compare the current version to a different version. I can compare, I can replace, I can merge, etc. I can also see the usage history. I can see where these have been used. And this is really important. For example, if you're making a change to a snippet, if you're making a change to a graphic and you need to find out every document in which this snippet has been used, rather than open all your documents, do a search, figure it out, make sure you've caught every occurrence of that snippet within the document. Maybe it appears 5 times and you have no idea how many times it's in there. Well, in this case, I can open this up and I can see, now I don't have, my files are just local. If I had them on SharePoint or in any other network location, SmartDocs doesn't care where you store your stuff. I can open all of these any of these documents I want to and push in and change. So it's very easy to work with your content and make sure that you are updating it. So one example I like to give is I have one company who they do systems administration, and they get screen capture changes all the time. So anytime they would get something new, they would have to take their screenshot, go into all their documents, figure out if it's in there, where it is, replace it, restore the formatting, etc. Now with SmartDocs, what used to take them 4 hours to do takes about 10 minutes. They can just do it and push that change into everything. So that alone, just that one task, more than paid for the effort and the cost of the tool, and it was so worth it to them. So think about what are your, I don't like the term pain points, but it's true. Think of what those pain points are, think of what those challenges are, and then decide which tools and solutions do I need in order to solve those problems. And if you say, and forget the tools you know, just forget about all of that and think, all right, these are the tasks that take us the most time. These are the things that cause the most inconsistencies. These are the things that cause the most bottlenecks. Here's where I want to be. I want this. I want to be able to work this way. I want to get rid of these types of problems that we have because it causes slower sales cycle, or it causes customer, we can't support customers this way, or whatever the case may be. Think about those things and then ask yourself which features do I need tools to have? Do I need it to support localization? Do I need it to support conditional text? What do I need it to do? And then start evaluating your tools. And that's how you come up with the best strategy and the best tool for your solution. Someone asked about localization standards. Again, I can talk about that. I'm not sure exactly what specifically you're interested in. I do have several customers who translate snippets. They usually branch them right now. They create relationships between the source language and the target languages. we are actually developing a translation module right now that will allow you to automate all of that round-trip translated snippets back into your repository, reuse them in new documents, and then send your document off to translation like you normally would, so that you can get anything that's new translated, but you never again are paying for repeated text like that, or I'm sorry, not repeated text, but matched text. Once you translate it on the component level, an entire paragraph, why pay to have someone review that line by line? It doesn't make sense. So this will allow you to mitigate that. So translation, and like I said, I have 11 years in the translation industry. I'd be happy to talk to anyone about translation. I present on the topic all the time, even though I'm not in that industry anymore as actively. I still am very much involved with the industry in a lot of ways, and how to write better for translation. So I'm happy to answer those types of questions as well. Amit, I'm going to pass this over to you, and so you can kind of round things out.
Sure. Everyone, I would like to consolidate everything that Lisa has demonstrated regarding these SmartDocs. That yeah, it is very important to select the right technology for the right work you're looking for. So it is not that it is really not necessary that we all need to move to the XData XML or S1000D standards or anything like that. However, the most important thing is that why exactly we are going to use the content, and how we are going to use the content with the existing systems available with us. So that is the most important question, and I hope that our webinar on SmartDocs or content reuse has answered that question very well today. So obviously we are aware that almost all the companies across the planet are using Microsoft Word, and irrespective of whatever domain they are working in. So it is very easy to install this application and ramp up your entire documentation process where you want to reuse the contents across various deliverables. So and also it is a very cost-effective solution. So instead of migrating to any new technology or new methodology, it is very important to ponder for some time and think about the selection of the right technology. And obviously we are there to help you implement the SmartDocs if you choose SmartDocs for that option. And for that you can contact us. So I have like you can contact 36 Software. So you have the email address of Lisa, email address, phone number, and the website URL. If you want to check the price for the SmartDocs, you can visit the 36 Software website. And also you can follow Lisa on Twitter and LinkedIn. And obviously in India I'm available, and I'm there to help you if you have any questions regarding SmartDocs or how to reuse the content, and whether SmartDocs fits into your documentation environment, irrespective of it is for the technical writing team or the marketing team or any other team where the content reuse is of a high importance. And you can always reach me on LinkedIn, or you can call me on my mobile number, which is available in this slide. And for more information on what services we provide, you can visit my website, metapercept.com. Or if you want to have a quick chat with me, then you can add me to the Skype as well. So I think we were able to answer most of the questions that you asked, and I am sure that our solution, our webinar today helped you might have helped you finding the right solution for content reuse with the existing documentation system or the authoring system you have. So Lisa, I think we don't have any more questions. Can I just check that?
There are a few more, but I think it would be easier. They're kind of specific, and they might be easier to answer in writing. So
Okay.
what we'll do is we'll distribute the questions and answers to everyone in a couple of days so that you have those, and
Yes.
then some others that we tend to get for sure on webinars. I also have a document that I'll be happy to make available that allows you to look at different features in a content reuse solution and help you prioritize them a little bit. So I'll be happy to make that available to everyone as well.
Sure. And we will be sharing this presentation as well as the recording with all of you, along with the questions that has been asked in this webinar. So we'll be answering those questions which are still pending, and we'll share these questions and the other deliverables with all the participants who have registered with us. So that's it from my side.
Thank you again, everyone, and thank you to STC India for helping support support this webinar and our companies and all of your writers. So we look forward to speaking with all of you and learning what types of solutions you are interested in and what how we can help you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write me or Lisa, and let us help you resolve your documentation issues you might be facing in your organization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.